Hi everyone, welcome back to the next video on controls. In the previous video, we learned about what are controls, what are safeguards, what are countermeasures, and what are different control categories such as your physical controls, your technical controls, and your administrative or management controls. In this video, we are going to talk about different types of controls. So what are different types of controls? Controls are of multiple types such as recovery control, corrective control, directive controls, detective controls, deterrent controls, preventive controls, and compensating controls. So if you are getting confused, just hold on for a minute and you'll understand what these different control types are. So let's start with detective controls first. So a control is something that protects you from some threat, right? So detective controls are those controls which can detect some activity or discover some activity or some threat. So generally these comes into a picture after an activity incident has occurred. For example, your CCTV camera, your investigations, user reviews. These are some examples of detective controls. So let's say there was a theft in a house or in a company. So first thing that police will do is review your CCTV logs, right? So that's where detection comes into play. Some incident has occurred. Let's say there was a cyber attack or there was a theft, for example. So police will begin the investigation. So the investigation becomes a detective control. So talking about IT security or cyber security, your logs or audit trail, your IDS, which is intrusion detection system, are some form of detective control. So why logs? Because let's say your application crashes or there is a security incident and your application was compromised. First thing that you will do is you will go and check the logs and you will try to detect the malicious activity. So that's why it's a detective control. Next type of control is preventive control, something that prevents or stop or blocks something. So something that prevents something from happening is a prevent example of preventive control. Example in physical world, your locks, alarms, fences, lights, your smart cards. These are example of preventive control. So if there are locks or alarms or fences, a thief might not dare to come into your house or maybe think twice before he tries to do it, right? So that's where preventive control comes into play. Talking about IT or cybersecurity, encryption, access control, security policies, firewall, intrusion prevention system, and antiviruses are example of some preventative control. Why? So let's say you encrypt your data. Now, an unauthorized person who does not have the access key to this data, that person will not be able to see or read that data, right? So the data remains confidential. So that's where encryption prevents somebody else from seeing your data. Similarly, access control, security policies. Security policies. So why security policies are considered as preventive control? Because they mandates that you use your organization's data, application, systems in a particular way. You do not disclose your sensitive data outside of your organization, and if you do so you may lose your job, or there could be some legal or other concerns, right? So it prevents employees from doing something bad. So that's why it's a preventive controls. Next category is deterrent control. So deterrent means something that discourages something from doing something, or something that gives some warning. One important concept here to remember is often it depends on the individuals to decide whether to take an unauthorized or unwanted action or not. Let's see how. So CCTV or security camera, right? We discussed in the previous slide wherein I said it's a detective control. Now, why it is a deterrent? So let's say if there is a CCTV camera installed at a building, right? It is up to this thief to decide whether he wants to take that risk to be caught into the CCTV camera, or he looks at it and sees, oh my god, there is a CCTV camera, and if I go inside I'll be caught. So he decides not to get involved in any theft. So that's where it works as a deterrent. Now, security guard, again, why it is a deterrent? Because if let's say somebody is trying to barge into your organization's perimeter, right, he'll see a security guard and may decide to not go through the gates, right? So it deters or discourages unauthorized people to go inside the building. Similarly, locks or warning signs. So warning signs are always there, right? But whether you want to follow or not, it depends on, as I said, on individual. In terms of cybersecurity awareness training is a form of deterrent. Security policies are also work as a deterrent. So, for example, if you know your organization's security policies, you may not decide to participate in an activity wherein you can be caught into doing something wrong, right? So that's where it works as a deterrent. Why cybersecurity awareness training is a deterrent? Because once you have gone through a cybersecurity training, you know what you are not expected to do. So that's where it works as a deterrent. So let's say a cybersecurity training teaches you or trains you not to click on a malicious link in an email. So when you get an email, you actually know that you are not expected to click on that link. So that's where it works as a deterrent sometimes, because you know once you click it, there could be a malware that can get inside your system. Directive controls. So what is directive controls? Something which directs you to do something which is like a command or control from somebody. It forces or encourages compliance. Let's see how. An example of a directive control is exit signs or SOP, standard operating procedure. So why exit signs? Because when it is written that it's an entry sign or exit sign. If you are exiting from that building, you'll go through the exit sign. So that's a direction that you have to take this path to exit the building. So that's a directive control. Now, standard operating procedure. Why SOP is a directive control? Because let's say there is an application that you are supposed to use, but then there is a document that says you follow these particular steps in order to uh, change the password. You follow these steps in order to log into this application. You follow these steps to encrypt the data which resides within this application or database. So those steps or standard operating procedures gives you direction on how to use your information assets, right? That's why we call SOP as a directive control. In terms of cybersecurity, your management notifications, your security policies work as a directive control. So, management notifications means, let's say an example, you get an email saying that, hey guys, you are expected to finish your cybersecurity awareness training by end of this month. So, that's a management command or direction or directive. So that becomes a directive control. Security policies tell you how to use a particular information asset and what not to do, right? What are the expectations? So it guides you into that direction. That's why it's a directive control. Corrective controls. What are corrective controls? Corrective controls are something that corrects something, or some controls which remediate vulnerabilities or repair minor issues. So objective here is always to bring the system to the normal state. And generally corrective controls come into play after an event or incident has happened, right? For example, your backup restore procedure. So let's say there was an attack that has happened and it corrupted some files. So now what you are trying to do is you are invoking your backup recovery procedure or backup restore procedures. That means you are trying to bring your system to the existing state before the attack, right? So you may decide to reboot the computer or remove a virus. So these are corrective actions. That's why we call them as corrective controls. Finally, compensatory controls. So what are compensatory controls? Controls in addition to some other controls are considered as compensatory controls, which compensate for something or which supports other control. So generally compensatory controls are implemented for whenever there is an increased risk by adding some additional control steps, or if there is a control which is not sufficient enough, or the control itself is weak, and you think that this particular control can be compromised, you implement some other additional controls which are called as compensatory controls. So, for example, a door which in itself is a control with an alarm plus CCTV. So, a door with an alarm and CCTV is an example wherein the door is working as a control, and alarms and CCTVs are implemented as additional control or compensatory controls. So, for example, there are these gates which you use to enter into your company, right? And there are these turnstile which rotates when you pass through it. Now, if somebody steals some employee's smart card and he taps and goes in, he will have access to the building. But if you want to prevent that, and we think that okay, this gate itself might not be sufficient because somebody can steal the card and pass through it, and we will never know. So that's why we decide to implement this CCTV. So this person may look at this CCTV and decide to not go inside because he knows he will be caught by this CCTV. So it works as a deterrent for this physical control. Uh, the person may not decide to go inside. So that's where compensatory controls come into play. So compensatory control, as I said, compensate for something and it compensate for increased risks by adding additional controls. In terms of cybersecurity, your security questions or your challenge response questions are example of compensatory controls. For example, you enter ID and password. Once you enter ID and password, you enter an MFA, for example, OTP, and you are now into the system. Now, if you are trying to change the password and system detects that it could be some adversary, what it can do is before you change your password, it may ask you some additional questions. Let's say, what is your favorite food? What is your mother's maiden name and all, which you might have set up earlier when you created the account. So these challenge response questions or security questions are working here as an compensatory control. So with that, I hope you understood all types of controls with certain examples in physical security and cyber security. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can scan this QR code to connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.